Hello friends, my name is Utkarsh Yadav and I am Assistant Professor School of Law, Galgotias University. The module that we will be discussing today is probation sentencing in trial courts. In this module, we would study the sentencing discretion exercised by a criminal court while releasing a convict on probation of good conduct. We will begin the discourse by first looking at the various definitions of the term probation. Thereafter, probation sentencing will be traced within the Indian criminal justice system. We will also analyze the merits and demerits of this process. This paper would further probe the legislative scheme underlying probation sentencing, and it will elaborately discuss the import of Section 360 CRPC and Probation of Offenders Act 1958. Probation is a modern enlightened method to tackle the problem of criminality. It is based on the premise that majority of the crimes are committed by situational or real criminals, and they may be reformed and saved from becoming recidivist or real criminals. Etymologically, probation means I prove my worth and is derived from the Latin word probatus, meaning tested or proved. John Augustus is credited with being the father of probation. Augustus coined the term probation, which he derived from the Latin word probare, meaning to be tested or proven. Don M. Gottfredson observed probation as a procedure by which a convicted person is released by the court without imprisonment, subject to conditions imposed by the court. In America, the American Bar Association defines the use of the term probation as a sentence not involving confinement, which imposes conditions and retains authority in the sentencing court to modify the conditions of sentence or to re-sentence the offender if he violates the conditions. In England, a clear definition of probation has been provided by the Morrison Committee as follows: probation is the submission of an offender while at liberty for a specified period to the supervision of a social case worker who is an officer of the court. A perusal of these definitions clearly show that probation is the suspension of imposition of punishment on condition of good behavior which the offender commits to observe under the supervision of a probation officer while staying in the society. Every criminal trial concludes with a judgment which may either acquit or convict the accused of the charges framed against him. When the accused is found guilty and convicted, the court shall proceed to pass a sentence on him. Crime must meet its just deserts, and it is the responsibility of the court to award a punishment proportionate to the crime. However, in some cases, the court may, instead of sentencing the accused person to jail, release him on probation of good conduct. Therefore, in some cases where the court considers it necessary, it may, instead of sentencing the accused person to any punishment, release him on probation of good conduct. In India, provisions for releasing convicted persons on probation have been given in the Probation of Offenders Act 1958 and Criminal Procedure Code Section 360 and 361. Now, let's look at the merits of probation sentencing, and we can analyze merits of probation sentencing from two standpoints. First, from the standpoint of the person who is to be released on probation, and secondly, from the standpoint of the community. First, let's see the merits of probation from the standpoint of person to be released on probation. The first merit of probation with respect to the person who is being released on probation is that it affords him another chance of reformation. Secondly, it makes possible continuation of those life habits that meet the approval of the society. So he can continue to live with the society, he can continue to practice those habits which are approved by the society. The third benefit of probation is that it averts the stigma of jail life. Now, if a person is sent to a jail, he will socialize with criminals and he may imbibe criminal traits. So it would be a better option if that person is released back in the society so that he can continue a normal life. Now let's discuss the benefits or merits of probation from the standpoint of community. The first benefit is that probation prevents overcrowding in jail. Jail life is dehumanizing and it perpetuates criminogenic tendencies. Therefore, there is always a threat that a person sentenced to jail may imbibe these criminal tendencies. Therefore, probation protects an individual from contaminating influence of recidivist prison inmates. Secondly, it can be assumed that the community has a definite interest in a well-adjusted individual who are carrying on constructive life plan. Thirdly, financially, probation is much less expensive than keeping convicted person in jail or other reformatories. Now, let's see the legislative scheme underlying probation sentencing. The first provision that has to be discussed is Section 360 CRPC. Section 360 CRPC comes into play when the court has recorded a conviction in the case. Once the trial in a criminal case concludes, the judge has to sentence the accused person. Instead of sentencing and sending him to jail, the judge also has the option of releasing the convict on probation of good conduct. The provisions with regard to this principle are given under Section 360 CRPC. Section 360 CRPC, it gives a discretionary power to a court to release on an offender on probation of good conduct, provided the offender is, number one, a woman, or second, a person below 21 years of age, or third, a male person of 21 years of age or above who is not guilty of an offence punishable with more than 7 years imprisonment. The benefit of Section 360 is not available to offenders who have been previously convicted or those found guilty of any offence punishable with death or imprisonment for life. Therefore, first-time offenders who fulfill the above condition, instead of being sentenced to any imprisonment, may be released on probation of good conduct by furnishing bond with or without sureties. It is abundantly clear that the section tries to reform the criminals by treating them leniently only in those cases where there is no danger or threat to the protection of the society. In Surendra Kumar versus State of Rajasthan, it was observed by the Supreme Court that where an offence is punishable with fine or with imprisonment with a term of 7 years or less, and the accused is below the age of 21 years at the time of commission of offence, he is entitled to avail the benefit of Section 360 CRPC. In Hansa versus State of Punjab, the appellant was convicted for 1 year under Section 326 IPC. The fact showed that the occurrence, the incident, took place between the parties on the quarrel of their children. The Apex Court directed for release of the appellant on probation, having regard to the circumstances of the case and the nature of the offence and also the character of the offender. The applicability of Section 360 CRPC has further been reinforced by Section 361 CRPC, which considerably narrows down the discretion to sentence a convicted person. This provision clearly mandates that the court shall normally deal with the offenders under Section 360 or under the Probation of Offenders Act. However, in cases the court chooses to do otherwise and to pass any sentence on the offender, that could be possible only for special reasons to be recorded in the judgment. The special reasons contemplated by Section 361 must be such as to compel the court to hold that it is impossible to reform and rehabilitate the offender. The special reasons contemplated by Section 361 must be such as to compel the court to hold that it is impossible to reform and rehabilitate the offender after examining the matter with due regard to the age, character and antecedent of the offender and the circumstances in which the offence was committed. So therefore, Section 360 and Section 361 lays down the scheme of probation sentencing under the Code of Criminal Procedure. The scheme is very clear. In a fit case, the court must release the convicted person on probation of good conduct. This is mandatory, and this can be gauged from the directive language used under Section 361 CRPC. In cases the court chooses not to release the convict on probation of good conduct, the court has to assign special reasons for not doing so. Apart from Code of Criminal Procedure, another statute which deals with probation is the Probation of Offenders Act 1958. The Parliament in 1958 enacted the Probation of Offenders Act, which provided a statutory scheme for probation sentencing in India. It also provided for appointment of probation officers who would be responsible to give a pre-sentence report to the magistrate and also supervise the accused person during the period of his probation. The Probation of Offenders Act saves a convicted person from the stigma of jailed life. But nobody can claim the benefit under this act as a matter of right, and the court has to pass appropriate orders in the fact and circumstances of each case, having regard to the nature of the offence, its general effect on the society, and the character of the offender. Now, let us look at some of the important provisions of this act. The first provision that we will discuss is Section 3, which empowers the court to release a convict after due admonition. Section 3 applies when any person is found guilty of having committed an offence punishable under Section 379, 380, 404, 420 of the Indian Penal Code. It also applies in cases of any offence punishable with imprisonment for not more than 2 years or with fine, or both under the Indian Penal Code or any other law. The court under this section has the power to release the offender after due admonition. Section 4 of the Act deals with the power of the court to release certain offenders on probation of good conduct. An offender may be released on probation if following conditions are fulfilled under this section. First, any person is found guilty of having committed an offence. Second, the offence so committed must not be punishable with death or imprisonment for life. Third, the court by which the person is found guilty is of the opinion that it is expedient to release him on probation of good conduct. The court may form such opinion having regard to number 1, the circumstances of the case, second, the nature of the offence, third, the character of the offender. The period of probation will be such as the court may direct, but it will not exceed 3 years. The probation order shall provide that the offender shall keep peace and be of good behaviour during the probation period. So, Section 4 manifests release of a convict on probation of good conduct. It empowers a court to release a person on probation provided that person, that convict, falls within the beneficial provisions of Section 4. Section 5 of the Probation of Offenders Act deals with the power of the court to require an offender released under Section 3 or Section 4 of the Act to pay compensation. Any order for payment of compensation shall be such as the court thinks reasonable for loss or injury caused to any person by the commission of the offence. Another very important aspect with regard to probation is the pre-sentence report as contemplated under Section 4 subsection 2 and Section 6 subsection 2 of Probation of Offenders Act. Under these sections, the courts, in addition to legal data, needs social data regarding the physical and social environment of the offender in order to place him on probation. Such data is collected by the probation officer through investigation and included in the report. Such a report is known as Social Investigation Report or Pre-Sentence Report. This report is very important because it helps the court in deciding whether to release or not to release the convict on probation. Section 6 of the Act provides that any offender under 21 years of age shall not be imprisoned unless the court is satisfied that, having regard to the circumstances of the case, including the nature of the offence and the character of the offender, it would not be desirable to deal with him under Section 3 or Section 4. And if the court passes any sentence of imprisonment, it shall record its reason for doing so. Section 8 gives power to the court which passes an order under Section 4 in respect of an offender to vary the conditions of any bond on the application of probation officer if it is of the opinion that it is expedient or necessary to do so in the interest of the offender and the public. If an offender who has been released on probation is not complying with the terms of the bond of his release, the court may issue a warrant against him. The court may conduct an hearing, and thereafter, if the court is satisfied that the offender has failed to observe any of the conditions of the bond, it may take following actions against him. First, the court may sentence him for the original offence, or where the failure on the part of the offender is for the first time, then the court may impose upon him a penalty not exceeding 50 rupees. The court may do so without prejudice to the continuation in force of the bond already entered into by the offender. Now, Section 12 declares that a person found guilty of an offence and dealt with under the provisions of Section 3 or Section 4 of the Act shall not suffer any disqualification attaching to a conviction of an offence under such law. Section 14 of the Act enlists the duties of the probation officer, which are as follows. First, inquire in accordance with any direction of a court into the circumstances or home surroundings of any person accused of an offence with a view to assist the court in determining the most suitable method of dealing with him and submit reports to the court. Second, supervise probationers and other persons placed under his supervision and where necessary endeavour to find them suitable employment. Third, advise and assist offenders in the payment of compensation or cost ordered by the court. Fourth, advise and assist in such cases and in such manner as may be prescribed persons who have been released under Section 4 and perform such other duties as may be prescribed. Now, after discussing the provisions with regard to probation under Section 360 and 361 CRPC and Probation of Offenders Act, we have to understand that the provisions contained under Section 360 and 361 CRPC and Probation of Offenders Act deal with the same subject. So there is bound to be some overlapping between these two provisions. However, the Probation of Offenders Act is a comprehensive and enlightened statute prescribing necessary measures for reformation and rehabilitation. Therefore, the Act of 1958 would prevail over Section 360 CRPC. There is no confusion as to the prevailing nature of Probation of Offenders Act over the provisions of Section 360 CRPC. In Channi versus State of UP, the controversy has been settled by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has observed that in any state where the provisions of Probation of Offenders Act are applicable, the Probation of Offenders Act would prevail over Section 360 and Section 361 CRPC. Now, let us discuss the issues and challenges in probation sentencing. The first issue is that Probation of Offenders Act allows probation without supervision. The concept of probation has been borrowed from UK and USA, and in those countries there is no probation without supervision. However, in India, with respect to the Probation of Offenders Act, probation without supervision is permissible. This is an aspect which needs to be looked into, and the complete or full benefits of probation can only be realized when there is a probation officer who is supervising the release of a convict while he is on probation. Secondly, probation has to be considered as an integral part of the sentencing policy. Although the Parliament has provided probation sentencing as an integral part, but the courts in India hardly use their power under this provision or under this statute. It is imperative that the court must exercise its power under this statute. Further, Probation of Offenders Act as a statute is also not taught across law schools in law programs. The second aspect with regard to probation is probation as an integral part of sentencing policy. Although the Parliament has provided probation as a part of sentencing policy, yet the trial court seldom use their power under this statute. It is imperative that the magistracy must exercise their power under Section 360 CRPC and also under Probation of Offenders Act wherever it is applicable. Another problem is that the Probation of Offenders Act does not form a part of the curriculum of law schools. The third aspect with regard to probation is denial of probation to first time and reclaimable offenders guilty of offence punishable with life imprisonment. It is imperative that the Parliament must look into the fact that whether the benevolent provisions of Probation of Offenders Act can be afforded to those criminals, to those convicts who have been convicted of life imprisonment, but they can be redeemed and brought back within the folds of the society. Another problem with probation sentencing is the mandatory requirement of fixed place of residence as a precondition for grant of probation. The Probation of Offenders Act requires that a convict can be released on probation only if he has a fixed place of residence. This condition will greatly diminish his chances of leading a normal life. Another aspect with probation is dilution of pre-sentence investigation report. Section 4 subsection 2 of the Probation of Offenders Act does not necessitate that there should be a pre-sentence investigation report in all cases. The requirement of pre-investigation report is not mandatory. However, if there is a report on record, the court may look into the report while deciding whether to release the convict on probation of good conduct or not. This brings us to the conclusion of this module. Now, the Probation of Offenders Act 1958 and Section 360 CRPC have indeed provided a legislative framework for the implementation of the probation sentencing scheme. However, the Act hasn't changed with changing times and has failed to adopt new techniques in non-custodial sentencing. Further, there has to be a greater emphasis and awareness about the beneficial provisions of the Act, and the magistracy must be trained to apply this policy while exercising their sentencing discretion. It is also important that institutions associated with probation should be strengthened so that they can work hand in hand with the trial courts in its implementation. The Parliament has done its part by providing the legislative scheme of probation sentencing. However, it is imperative on the court, it is the duty of the court that these legislative schemes are implemented in letter and spirit. So therefore, whenever there is a competent person, whenever there is a fit person who can be released on probation of good conduct, the court must release him on probation instead of sentencing him to imprisonment.